Um, again, I think this is a kind of like a repeat example. But there is a one more. Why do we need to use variable, right? So this is a very powerful feature. So assigning the variables with a value from select statement is very useful. So let's understand what we are trying to do here. So as you can see here, I'm in the first line. I'm declaring at last name variable and using the varchar 50 instead of the int, because last name is a string or alphabet, right? So I'm going to store some alphabet values. So I need to declare as a char or varchar, and I'm using the varchar. Then this is where your understanding comes in the picture for retrieving the value. So what I mean by that is here if I let's forget about this one. So if I have this select statement and if I run it, it will return me Snyder. Okay, because I'm reading the value. Then unfortunately, this one is just outputting the value. It's not helping me to do anything else. What if I want to use legal last name in my script a little bit later and do something else with it? In order to do that, you have to read the value of legal last name in this particular case from your query, and then I want to print it out in the next line. So in order to do that, what you can do is you declare the variable at the top, then you can read the value of legal last name into the variable using this syntax. Okay, so it will read the value from the legal last name column output, and then finally I'm printing out legal last name here. So if I run this, it will print me Snyder here. Okay. Now, if you run this query, it will throw you an error. Okay. If you just run this query, because it says must declare scalar variable. So your script runs as a whole, not as in the parts in this scenario here. If I run these two parts, it will run it, but you will not see, may not see anything here, because whatever the output of this query is stored into the last name, and you are not printing out when I run these two statements. My print statement is here. So at this point, if I run everything together, then only I'll see the Snyder value coming out. Or I can do something else as well. Um, I can add a couple of strings together. Test. Let's say I want to print out something different value. So I can do at last name plus test. So this will combine two strings. So this one contains string, then this is another string I'm adding. So this one will combine a couple of strings and print me the Snyder test. Basically single value, something like this. Okay, so this is the one way you can read the values from the SQL statements and populate into your variable, and then you can do something in your script to use that variable. It can be anything in this scenario. Now, let's say I have two variables. Basically, let's say I want to print something like a full name instead of the legal last name and first name. So what I can do is I can declare another variable called first name, varchar 50, and I can read multiple values from the same select statement at first name is equal legal first name. So in this one, I'm reading for this record, patient ID 1001, I'm reading two values, legal last name and legal first name, and storing them into two separate variables. Okay, and then I can do something like this at first name. So this one will give me, so it will print me full name, basically. Let's format it a little bit so that we know. So last name, comma, first name. So if I run this query or run this script, it will print Snyder, Eric. Okay. So whichever way you format this one, So if I do add first name first, so I'm combining 3 strings, and you can combine just like mathematical operation. You can use plus to combine multiple strings. So it will print me Eric Snyder. So this is the power of variables. So now, as you see, the script is getting, it's not a simple select statements anymore. You are actually doing some programming logic and generating some output from the programming logic from your SQL scripts. So that's what the programmers do. Okay, this is more of a programmer thing, but it is good to know, no matter whether you are doing the QA side of things or other stuff. Because programming is programming. It's available in pretty much any programming language. Any question on this particular statements here? Okay, so I didn't hear yes or no, so I'm assuming it's you guys understood. And we'll move on. And then I'll let you guys do some exercise as well, okay? Let's take a look at number 4 here, which is this. So I'm going to create a new script. Let's do first a simple one. Select star from patient, where patient legal first name like J %. So this query, as you know, it will return me all the patient whose last name, whose first name starts with J, right? Hopefully you guys remember this part. Yeah. And if I run this query, so I'm getting 2 J's, right? Now, what if I want to create this value as a dynamically pass, basically this value. So what I mean by that is, so assuming that's our SQL scripts, part of our SQL script, right? This particular statement here. This is part of our SQL script programming. What I want to do is I want to input that value. So instead of hard coding in the J, I can input A, and my program should execute. So if I input A, it will run my statement, and then I should get appropriate output, basically based on my script. So how can I change my script so that it become more dynamic? So for that, what I can do is, because I know I don't want to hard code this value, I want to make it dynamic. And that's where the variable comes in the picture. I can do something like this. Declare at search parameter, or whatever the first name varchar 10, because I want to pass maybe a few characters, partial character search, right? And then in my program, I can say set at first name is equal J %. Okay, so this is the value of this variable that I'm declaring here. And then I can change my select statement to use this variable. Okay, so here I can say first name, and the first name contains the value of this one. So it has the same behavior as a hard coding the value. So the value will flow here, this J %, and when your query gets executed, it will return the matching results accordingly. So now I should get the same result, but now my queries, my SQL script makes it more dynamic queries. So if I run this, again, I'm getting the same result, right? So now only thing I need to change here is if I do A %, see if I return anybody starting with first name as Andrew. Okay, so now that's very powerful. What if tomorrow I want to change my query to find A anywhere instead of starting with A? So all I have to do is change this variable value as an input to different value. And if I run it, I will get everybody who has a in the first name. So that's the power of variables. You can make your programming or the queries more powerful. You don't have to change your queries. And then ultimately, we can store the statements in the database, which I'll show you next, how we can go about it so that other programs can execute and pass the different values. So if I'm calling from the web app can pass this value and it will flow through your query and your query will run dynamically based on whatever values you supply for the in the where clause. Okay, and that's what this particular. So here in this number 4, I have a search criteria variable. Then I'm setting the value to %e%, and then I'm setting using the variable instead of hard coding the value here, so that anything if I change in my search criteria value, then it will change it here and return me the result accordingly. Any question? I hope you are understanding this concept with the variable, why we need it, and we have started building small script here, and this is what the SQL script looks like. This is how the SQL scripts will look like when we store it in the database, and I'll show you that's the next topic. But first, let's see what the script is and how we can build it slowly. Let's do number 3 and 4, okay? So that you get some idea about the syntax and so forth before I go too further. And when you run it, right, when you test, change the values to different one and see how your query behaves as well. And I'll get you 10 minutes on this one.
3 and 4.
3 and 4, yep. Yeah, other ones are very small, so don't worry about it. Let's work through number 3 and number 4. And pay attention to the syntax, right? Variable always includes at in the front. You have to name your variable starting with the at symbol. Okay, that's how SQL will recognize it's a variable or not. If I do 1006, I can see young Eileen getting printed there. 2010, Smith Jason, and so forth. So this my script is getting a little more dynamic at this point, and that's the whole point of writing the script. You don't want to hard code anything. Other programs can call it dynamically and pass different values and so forth. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. I think I
Right.
forgot the empty codes. I think I can live with that.
Yeah, I mean, this one to separate out the values, right? Smith JSON, if I don't have this empty quote, then it will put without space. So it will do like Smith JSON like this, which I can, it's not readable. So that's the reason I'm putting empty quote,
So
empty string.
it's like a space.
Yeah, it's a space, empty space. So if I do something like this, it will print more space between that, right? Or there is a space function. I think there is a space function. So you can just say 5 space.
Yeah. Is it? No.
It will work, still work fine. So what this function does, it generates the empty space, 5 empty space depending on the character you specify, number of characters, and it will print out. If I say 1, it will add 1 space between that. See, if I do 100, it will print 100 space. So it's all the way up here. So you can use different ways, or just use a single quote like this, and it will work fine. Okay, so let's move on. So now you got some idea about the variables and how you can use it in your scripts, at least some concept. Let's see how we can use some additional programming logic using the variables and SQL statements and so forth. Now, the most common one for the programming logic or the flow control in your scripts, you have if else, check some condition. So if something is true, then you want to do you execute some statements. If something is false, you want to execute some other statements, kind of like that. Let's take a look at it. What is the syntax looks like? And this is the syntax for the if statement. So if, then you have logical condition, which will be x equals y or x is equal 1, then begin and end. So any code block, any statement you specify between begin and end, it will be executed for this if statement. Then you will else. So if something is true, do this, or if else, you will execute bunch of other statements. See if we have an example here. So here in this particular example, so we have one variable, right, age. Then I'm reading the value of into the age variable, but from the age column, okay, for patient 1005. Then I'm using some programming logic here. If age is less than 18, then print teenager, otherwise else print adult. So that's a very simple statement. So if I come here, and hopefully you guys recognize this thing, right, in the script. Now this is where the if statement comes in. If age is less than 18, so it will check the value. So what it will read in this line, it will read the value for 10,005 patient and store it into age variable. And then in this line, we are using the age variable and value. So it will compare with 18. If it's less than, then it will say teenager, otherwise adult. Okay. So if I run this, it will say adult. And we can check it, see what the value is for select star from patient, where patient ID is equal to 1005, right? So I'm just going to run a separate query here just to see what's the value of age is. So age is 23. So it comes on this line and it compares 23 with 18. So age is not less than 18. So it will come to the else statement and it will print adult. Okay. Same thing. Like if I change it to 1009, let's see what happens. So again, the age is 23 again. Let me find different one. 1001. Oh, this one is so age is 60. So it will print adult again for us, which is adult here. So let's see if find one patient whose age is less than 18. Let's see if we have anything. So we got Jeremy Jones, right? So 1002, 1002 here. And if I run this program, I'm expecting to see teenager. So this query is outputting this value, but our message result would be teenager. So let me run this again, commenting out that line. So it prints me teenager. So this is how you can start building your programming logic. Any question on the if statement?
This is clear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just the syntax. Okay, that's all you need to worry about. This is a condition. Otherwise, if it's not true, this condition is not true, then it will go to the else, and then it will execute whatever statement you specify. And I can have multiple statements here, whatever, X, Y, Z, something like that. It will execute those. Here, I can have multiple statements, A, B, C, something. So it will print ABC or have another select statement, select star from patient. Well, doesn't matter. Okay. So it will give me this result as well. So it's a nested logic. You can build query in the if statement and so forth. There is no sky's the limit. Okay, in the programming world. Okay, and I'll let you work through one or two examples. But let's take a look at the another program flow, which is most common one. And here is the while loop. So while is used to execute logic until specified condition becomes false. So while something is true, go and execute this logic until it becomes false. Okay. So the way you can have that, so let's take a look at this program. So declare at I integer, then I'm setting the value to 1005, initializing the variable at I and setting initial value to 1005. While at I is less than 1010. So what this one will contain? So what this condition is? So while 1005 is less than 1010, right? This value is less than 1010, go and execute the logic here. So initially, when the program runs, it will declare the variable, it will initialize to 1005 variable value, then it will come here. Then it will check, is 1005 is less than 1010? Yep, it is true. Then go and execute these two statements. And then at the end, when it encounters an end, it will again go back here. Then next time, so within the loop, right? Within begin and end, we are incrementing the value by 1 for at I. So now the value is 1006. So it will say 1006 is again less than 1010. It will go back 1007, 1008, 1009, and then 1010. It will say 1010 is less than. Nope, it's not. It will exit out of the loop. So it will print what? How many values? 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and 1009. This particular logic. So if I have this program running, 1006 to 1007 So we are printing after incrementation. So that's the reason we are seeing 1006 to 1010. Okay. So it will print until the condition is becomes very high. So if I do 1001, so initialize with 1001, so I'll see 1002 to 1010 this time. So now I will have 1002 and 1010 at the end.
So what happens if you do it greater than 1010?
So if I change the condition here, right?
Yeah.
So it will not print anything. Are you expecting to print anything? Because it comes here, right? Sets a value to 1001. Is 1001 is greater than 1010?
No. Okay.
No, right? So this one will be false and program will end. It will not execute any statement. Only if it's true, then only it will execute these two statements. So in this scenario, there is nothing will be there. It says command completed successfully, did not print anything.
So unless the I is greater than 1010.
Yeah, yep. Then only this condition will be true, right? So if I do 1015 here, so how many times it will print? If I do this, so how many times it will print? If I do 1015 in this case scenario. Read through the program, see what you guys think.
Is it like 5 times?
So you read it from the top, right? So here, initial value is 1015. It comes here is 1015 is less than 1010. Sorry, 1010. 1015 is less than 1015.
No.
1010. Nope. So it will not print anything.
Yeah.
Right? But if I change this to 1005 again or 1009, how many times it will print?
1 time.
One time, right? So it will print 1010. So it will come here. Yep, it will check it. Yep, it's good. So it will increment the value by 1 at I is equal at I plus 1. So it will set the value of at I to 1010 and then it will print it. Okay. Now if I do something like this, so what value it will be printing? So what is the printed value here? Any thoughts?
Isn't it printed the same? Like 1010?
So Samuel, do you think the same way? I think he's on mute. So let me run this, see what it prints. It prints 1009. See that we are printing before we are incrementing the value. Okay, so 1009 is less than 1010, then it will come in the program and it will print 1009. Then it will increment the value by 1. So now it's 110 afterwards. So I flip the line. Previously the line was here. So it will printing after the incrementing the value. So your logic is very important, what you have. So if you print before that, that means it will not have incremented value. So it will print the original value of 1009.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's a catch in the programming.
Only the set comes before the print.
Yeah, yep. Set is after the print. So print happens before set. So that's why it's printing 1009.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other question on the looping?
I think I'm good on this.
Okay.
Okay, so I shall go up one. So let's say if they say, you see where the while we have the while statement.
Yeah.
Let's say the while at I is equal to 1010, and then we have the
Is
set
equal 1010.
1010, and then it's this one, the while is equal to 1010 too. Let's say, yeah.
Yeah,
It,
this is fine, right? Yeah.
it,
So what will happen? Tell me. Look at the program and tell me what it will it print anything? If
no,
it
because
right,
it's the same, right?
it's not 10. It's not less than 1010. It's
It's
equal to
equal
1010.
to, yeah.
Right now, if I change my while condition to something like this, will it print anything?
Less or equal.
Will it print anything this time?
I think it will print.
Right? Because at 1010 is less than equal to 1010. So
Yeah,
this is still true. So it
yeah.
will come here and print it. Print 1010.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's take this example and tell me what values it will print, or will it print anything?
I think it will print something, but it will be like a 9 because it says the ID is equal to 10, while ID is greater than 0, right?
Yeah.
So if you set the ID equal to ID minus 1, the print ID,
Right.
so there will not be incremented to be like a decrease. So I don't know, I'm just saying like it will print like a 9.
Yep,
Right?
that's correct. So it will come here and 10 minus 1 is 9. Then it will print 9. Then again, it will come in the loop. It will check. Is 9 greater than 0? Yep. Again, so it will print 9, 8, 7, something like that. So if I run this till 0.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So that's the power of the while as well, and so forth.
So it's like an increase and decrease.
Yep. Increase. This one is increasing. This particular program will increase the value. This one can. This one is decreasing the value. Okay. So those are the two powerful logic programming logic commonly used: if else and um, while loop to loop through the values. Okay. So let me move on to the next topic. And this one is using the identity variable. So far, what we looked at it here. So these are these variables, right? These are kind of like a SQL variable or user-defined variables. So variables. Let me come back here. So we saw the program, right? So program use variables. We talked about variables with at symbol, at symbol. Now these are called, so there are two kinds of variable in the SQL. So one is a local variable and second one is a global. Okay, so local variables, or sometimes it's called user defined variables. Okay, They both, you can define global variables from in your program or local variables. But the difference is local variables are available only in your program, meaning you have a script here and your local variables are only accessible within the script. But you can, and local variables are declared using the @ symbol. This is how you can declare. You can also declare global variable in your program, which is accessible outside the program. So it is available in your program, plus it could be available in other programs as well within SQL Server. And the main difference is you can declare the global variable with @ symbol, @, symbol. So what I mean by that is, can say declare @ test varchar 50. Okay, this is how I can declare global variable, which is accessible from other programs as well. So what I mean by that, if I do the go statement, and let's say I set @ test is equal my variable, my global variable. So here I can say print @ test, and it will work fine. If I do print at last name, this may not work within our program. Let's see. See, it will throw an error for that. Actually, this one may not work either. I need to create a separate programs and so forth. But these are very rarely used global variables. Okay, because it stores in the memory and stays in the memory unless somebody cleans up. But this local variables which you are defining, as soon as the program is done, it's cleared out from the memory. But this one stays in the memory unless you manually clear out or remove it from the memory. So practically, you don't want to use these global variables with 2 @ symbols. Okay, and practically, I'd never use global variables for that purpose. All you have to do is use the local variables most of the time from there. Okay, so but it is available with 2 @ symbol, and which are accessible from other scripts that you can call those global variables. Once you define in one script, you can access from the different script. Now these are user defined. User defined means you can declare in your programs and work through that, local or global. Okay. Now within SQL Server, you also have some global variables that are built into the SQL Server. Built in to SQL Server. So what I mean by that, so when you install the SQL Server, these global variables are created as well, and they will be used in your programs. You can use them in your program as well. And again, since they are global variables, so you can use, they are accessible using @ symbol. Okay, and let's take a look at a couple of them which are helpful in the programming area. There are quite a few available. I'm not gonna go through every one of them. I'm gonna cover the one that is most useful, and that is @ identity. This is a global variable that is available. Okay, so @ identity is a commonly used and most helpful global variable. @ row count is another global variable that is commonly used, and it returns number of rows affected by the last statement. Returns number of rows affected by the last statement. Let me go through that one first. So if I do that, select star from patient. Okay. If I run this statement, and I have 11 rows being written here. Okay. But if I need to get the row count, there is no way for me unless I do use the count star, then it will return me how many rows are there, but it will return me something like this. Then I can read this value. So let's see row, number rows, int. I can set this at number of rows variable to count star. So it will give me total rows and store it into this variable. And then I can print at number rows. So I have to do some programming, okay, in order to do this. See, now I'm getting the number of rows and I'm printing out here, which is very tedious for a common task. I don't want to write a query. And if it's millions of rows, my query might be slow and all those things. So instead of that, SQL has a built-in global variable. So instead of writing all this programming for getting the number of rows, SQL, I can use a built-in SQL global variable, which is called at row count. This is a global variable. It is available, and it will have row count of previous SQL, last executed SQL statement. So this is the previous SQL statement. So it will automatically store and populate row count variable with the number of rows in there. So if I do that, and I see here, it says print 11. Okay, so it will print, it will automatically store the value from there. If I do patient or do demographics here or patient address, hopefully I'll get different rows here. Let's see. It has 12 because one of the patient has more records in there. It says 12 rows affected. This is coming from here, but this value where I'm printing out, it has 12 in there. That's why you are seeing 12 twice. Okay. So this row, this variable is available. And let's say if you want to do something else in your programming logic, which is typically at row count is greater than 0, then let's say you want to print more than 1 rows return. So I can build some programming logic on top of it. Okay. So if I do that, I'm expecting to see more than 1 rows return in my messages, which I can see it here. Okay. So this is one global variable that is most helpful in the programming world, which you can use it. And another variable, global variable that we have available is at identity. So identity is used to read the last inserted records identity column, identity value. Okay. So what I mean by that is, let's take a look at this example here. So here I'm declaring patient ID, big hint, in this line. Okay, so that line is straightforward. Then here I have an insert statement that inserts into patient SSN, legal first name, legal last name, age, phone, email, and all those things. Now, how do I read? How do I patient ID? Okay, that is where you can use if you want to read the patient ID that was generated using the identity in the patient table for that record, what you can do is, as soon as the record is inserted, that this identity variable is populated with a patient ID value, whatever the identity value is. So you can read this value and store it into some other variable, which we have already declared using patient ID. Okay. And then in the next line, when I'm inserting into demographics, I'm using the patient ID birth date, gender, marital status, and I'm using the patient ID variable. So this will contain the value from the patient table, whatever the new ID was generated. So the demographic record is tied with the patient record at that point, once this statement gets executed. Okay. And then finally, in the last line, I'm just executing the select star from patient and so forth, and select star from demographics. So let's take a look at it here. So if I run this query so that it makes a little bit more sense. So let's say come here, and this is my query here. So what this identity does, it will read the last value of the identity that was inserted in the previous SQL statement, and it will contain that value. And then I'm assigning just in this line, I'm storing that value into patient ID. From there, I can use it anywhere in my query. Okay. So if I run this, so I can programmatically tie the tables. This is how typically we insert, tie the tables in a multiple same patient ID using the same patient ID. In the demographics, if I have a patient address here, then the patient address will get the same patient ID and so forth. Okay. So patient ID 1012, and this is how we create the relationships, um, entity relationship basically, or primary key, foreign key relationship in this case. Any question on this one? So this is a global variable. It is available and it will contain the last value of the identity that was inserted in the previous SQL statement. That's the main whole point of this exercise here. You can mark this exercise to do. I would like you guys to try it a bit later. Okay, and you guys can work through this particular exercise here from there. Any question on this one or global variables? Okay, if not, then let's take like a 7 minutes break. Okay, and then we'll start the next topic, which is the important one, the procedures, and we can work through that.
Okay.
So we'll regroup at 10:40. Okay, it's 10:33 right now. So 10:40, we'll start back up. And meanwhile, if you don't want to take a break, just go through this one, maybe complete one of the exercise here with the while or if, and see if you are able to get it done. So 10:40, we'll start back up.
Asha.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's say this means that we only have the J in the system, right?
Yeah,
So what if you want to change it?
that's correct. So that's where I'm coming next to that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So right now it's a J, right? So now if you want to change to A, again, you have to execute the alter statement and run the procedure. But that's the whole defeats the whole purpose of dynamic procedure calling, right? Suppose our web app wants to pass in different values and get the different results accordingly. So this one is still hard coded in the procedure, this percentage. Okay. So in order to avoid that, so if I go back to the syntax here, right, this is the syntax. In order to avoid that, you can use a concept called input parameters. Okay. So this is the way you can pass in dynamic value when you execute procedures. So what I mean by that is, let's come back here. I I don't have anything here. So right now it's always returns me um, the same result, right? Jeremy, and no matter how many times I execute, because the J is hard coded there. So how do I make it more dynamic? That's where the concept of input parameters comes in. So here, right after alters procedure, you can specify the input parameter called something called search criteria. And again, this is again another variable you can declare in the procedure definition. And let's say we have varchar 10. Okay. Now this is the input parameter. And that's when I execute the procedure, I can specify the value for this parameter or value for this variable. And then I can use this variable anywhere in my procedure logic. So what I can do is, instead of hard coding %a here, I can say at first name is equal at search criteria. Okay. Or I can completely get rid of this one. So my SQL statement will look something like this, right? So instead of at first name, I can just use this variable and modify my procedure. So you can, this is called input parameter, okay? Input value. So it's nothing but a variable. And when you can use this, once you define it as an input variable or input parameter, you can use it in your SQL statements or any programming logic that you have. So here, let me run this alter statement so it gets stored. Okay, it says command completed successfully. Now, what I can do is here, since I have an input parameter, now if I run this statement, it will throw me an error. It says procedure or function expects parameter at search criteria, which was not supplied. Okay. So how do I supply this at search parameter value? So I can just simply pass in any value that I can. So I can say %j here. Okay. So this one will flow to the value here, search criteria parameter or variable, and then it will ultimately pass to our SQL statement. This is how it will work. So now if I run this statement here, I should get at J matching results. If I change it to %a%, so now I'm getting the %a%. So anywhere A is in the first name, I should see everybody. So now I can find everybody with A in the name. Same way, anywhere I can do it. So now my queries are more dynamic. My procedures are dynamic. Now if I do S, so it's a begin with, right? So it's flexible. So now I can find anybody begins with S in the name, not anywhere. So it will return me only Simran and Sammy and so forth. When I do %, it means anywhere. When I do S %, it will be begins with and then ignore the remaining part. So whatever values you are specifying here ultimately flows here in the input parameter, and then which is nothing but a variable, and then you are using that variable in your query. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
Got it? Conceptually, okay? You haven't built anything yet. Um, but here, in this example in the booklet or the material I gave you, it's kind of like this shows procedure, search patient, right? This is how we have it originally. You can execute it the same way. Search patient. I'm not sure why would I have this one. Okay. And then when you want to alter it, you use the alter command and change anything in the procedure, drop it, and then finally passing the parameter. Okay. So you use the create statement, add the search criteria, and execute the same way the procedure. So you pass the E person, then it will find you matching starting with E. If you find it person, J person, then it will find you different result. So let's work through one this example, 53, this particular procedure example. I'd like you guys to create it and see if you can execute it and test it out with the different values on your machine. Let's spend maybe like a 10-15 minutes, okay, on this one. See if you are able to create it without any issue and work through that. This is kind of like important. So at least you want to create one so that you understand how it's created and how you can execute that. Okay, so I'll get you guys 10, it's 11:02, maybe 11:15. Hopefully by you guys should be done by then, 11:15. And make sure you see it here. Okay, verify the procedure on the left side and find it under programmability and the procedure. That's the tab. And let me know if you have an issue while you're executing or anything else.
All right, sure.
All right. Any issues or anything? You guys still working through it?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'll get you another 5 minutes.
So
Or are you getting error, Bismarck?
I think I made a mistake.
Okay.
I created something and I wanted to like delete it, and then
Yeah. You can. What you can do is you can use the alter command, change create to alter. If you already ran once, you have to use alter command.
yes, I
And
use the auto comma, but I still can see the table on the left side, like the
not the
set.
table, it's a procedure, right? So
Yeah,
it
the
will be
procedure.
under procedure. You want to share your screen?
Okay. This is the first one that I was trying to compare to the second one.
Oh, here you have it, right? DBO search patient. You already have it.
So I already have it here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's already there. Yep, it's already stored in the database.
Okay, so if I want to remove this thing, I'll use the alter procedure.
No, you can remove it. If you want to drop it, delete it, that's where only this one will be removed.
Oh, that's what use the drop.
Yeah. If you want to remove it, just change alter to drop.
So it will be like a drop procedure.
Yep. And select the only that statement, drop procedure and search patient, what a DBO or search patient, and just execute that line afterwards.
And then it will move from this side.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, okay.
It will delete the procedure. Yep. Okay. So looks like you have the procedure working, I guess. Have you executed yet?
Yeah, I'm still on it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get you 5 minutes. Okay. No worries. Okay, you done, Bismarck?
Errors, I don't know.
What's the error?
So I wasn't able to execute it. I don't know what I was doing wrong.
Share the screen, yep.
So this is what I did. I don't know if I did something wrong.
So you need to modify search criteria, right?
Mhm.
So the search criteria, it will go in between alter and as.
Okay.
Right? So search criteria varchar 30, that line will go between alter procedure and as. That's the input parameter.
This one?
Yeah. Not the whole thing. You don't need declare.
Okay.
Yeah, just a search criteria varchar 30. Yep. That part.
This one?
Yeah. Copy it or cut it and paste just above as, because that's the input parameter.
I'll put it here.
Yeah, that's where the input parameter goes. Now you can get rid of the declare and set both lines. And the set line as well.
Okay.
Okay. Now run the alter statement and up to end. Select for everything from alter to end. Okay. So you're logically, see, you are using the search criteria in the query, which is fine. Now, if you run the execute search patient, see if that works. You could not find procedure. So SEARCH, you misspelled it.
Oh yeah. Why am I getting this?
Just click on the insert key. No, insert key on your keyboard. Again, in your keyboard, find the insert key. Click once.
Where is the insert key?
Yeah, it should be there. Somewhere on the right side.
Okay, I'll see insert.
Just click once. Yep, there you go. Search PATIENT. So you probably don't have any patient starting with E%. So maybe put J.
What's it J? Okay.
Yep. So you got Jeremy Jones, right? You got two Jones. So, okay. So it looks like your query is corrected and so forth. So, all right. So let me cover last few things, and then we'll work through other things. Okay, so we talked about how to create a procedure, how to modify it using the alter statement, and then how to create the parameter, pass the parameter. We also looked at it, how to execute procedure with the parameter. So in the SQL statement, as I said, anything in the procedure between begin and end, that's where all your SQL statement or logic for the script goes in the procedure. And it's not restricted to just a select statement, okay? You can use any kind of statement. So this procedure, let's show you this example here. So I have, and brackets are optional here, so you don't have to have bracket. But what we have here, so I have a create procedure, get patient by patient ID. So now, and this one takes one parameter called patient ID. And I'm using this parameter in a select star from patient to return the patient record for whatever patient ID is there. Okay, so this is similar to other one, but this time I'm using patient ID as an integer and specifying as an integer, and then hooking up with the query here. So when I execute this procedure, make sure you have the patient registration selected, right? So that procedure is created in this data, whatever database is selected here. Okay, so this one I can execute. It says command completed successfully, and I can see it on the right side or left side. Refresh. Now I can see get patient by patient ID. So that is a second procedure I created, and I can execute similar way, and I can pass in patient ID. Now this one is an integer or int, right? So you don't have to put it in the quote, but very varchar values we are putting in the single quote like that, surrounding by the quotes. But since this is integer, you don't have to put the quotes around it. And now I can get patient 1001 record here. Okay. Similarly, if I pass in 1010, so this would be a different record I expect to see here. 1010, Jason Smith, and so forth. Okay. So you can have different parameter types with different variables, variables with different data types and so forth. Yeah, the sky is the limit. I mean, with the how you all you have to build is the logic between begin and end, and then pass in the parameters to, and then when you execute, you just send in the values for the parameters. Okay, so that's the one different kind of process. And as I said, let me talk about this one. There's one more type. So this procedure is I'm using, its the name of the procedure is update patient, and I have three parameters here. As I said, brackets, parentheses are optional, so you can send it or not. But here I'm sending three variables. So first variable is patient ID, legal first name, legal last name. They all are separated by comma. Okay. So patient ID begin, that's the first parameter, comma, legal first name, varchar 50. Second parameter, comma, legal last name, varchar 50. Then as and begin, now I'm using the patient ID to update the information for the legal first name and last name. So I'm using the update statement, update patient, set legal first name is equal whatever the parameter value is. So whatever the new value I send, it needs to be updated in the first name. Same way, legal last name I'm updating into last name column, where patient ID is equal at patient ID. So where for a specific patient, it will update this value. So I write this logic once and create a procedure and execute it. So it will be stored again, refresh, and I'll see update patient created here. Now, how do I execute it? So let's see. Let's say, let me run a simple select statement first so that we can know what, what we are updating and so forth. So let's say I want to update 1002 record and I want to change the Jeremy Jones to something else. Okay, to change the first name and last name for 1002. So what I can do is I wrote the update patient. So execute update patient. Then I need to send in three parameters. First patient ID, first name and last name in the same order. Okay. So I'll send the patient ID, which is 1002, because I want to update that 1002 record. So that one will go in the where clause. Then what are the new names I want to put in? So I can say XYZ name, XYZ first name, ABC last name. So it will replace Jeremy and Jones with XYZ first name and XY ABC last names. Okay, as soon as I run this statement. So I will go and run it. It says one row is affected. And then I will select star and I can see XYZ first name for 1002 and ABC last name. Again, the using 1002, to filter out which patient record I want to update, right, in my query. So it updates only one record. You guys understand the update logic?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So so it doesn't matter. So power is you define the input parameters and then hook them up in your queries or the statements, and that's it. That's how this mechanism works for the procedure. And then you store it. And then this statement I can call it from any web app or whatever any .NET or Java applications or anywhere. I can use execute this command exactly same way from those apps. Once I connect to the database, I can execute this SQL commands from those applications, which will execute the logic and do necessary things with the different values. Okay. There's one more example here, get all patients. I think this is we already saw earlier, so I'm not gonna go through that. Okay. So this is how you can execute the procedures for update as well as get all patients. Oh, now we are back to the homework side of things. So that's all I wanted to cover for the procedures. But let's still, since we have time, let's work through this update one. Okay. Let's see if we can finish up here, and then we'll probably stop and see if we need to, if you guys have any other question for any other things that we
So we
discussed.
should work on this one.
Yeah. Create update patient one.
Okay.
Okay. So at least you get a couple of exercises so you start understanding how this thing works. Take maybe like a 10-15 minutes. Okay. No worries.
Okay, sure.
You still working through it? Bismarck?
Hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think, okay, let me share my screen real quick.
Okay.
I think I forgot how you edited the existing something. Okay, so I created this procedure. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so I created a procedure for update patient, which is right here.
Okay.
So this is the author statement, right?
Yeah. So let me just check it. Yep, where patient ID. Yep, looks good. Yeah. Select star from patient is just some other command, but now you need to execute. Did it? So you have the update procedure, which ran fine.
Okay.
So which is good. So what's the question?
The question was, see, when you were working on yours, you didn't like, let's see, hold on, like this one, you updated one of the.
Yeah, you need to execute the procedure.
Yeah, so the execution was, okay.
So which are patient, right? So Jeremy Jones, right here. So you need to send in execute statement, execute command. So it's in the book. You can go to the page number, I think right below the next page, you have the execute command for the update statement. Follow that. Yep.
Which page is it?
It should be the next page right after that. You will see update patient command and passing in the parameter, right? Patient ID, legal first name and legal last name. Did you find it?
Just like this, right?
Yeah, not that you have 3 parameters, so you need to send in 3 values, not just one. Because the first name and last name, the new values that you are setting for the job.
So I'll execute all the parameters, the 3 parameters.
Yeah. Yep. Stop sharing your screen. I'll show you the command.
Okay.
See the command here. So you are updating patient 1001 with the new values, new name, Eric 1 and Snyder 1 in this example.
Okay. Okay.
Since you have 3 parameters, right? You have to send in 3 values.
I got it. Okay, so this update will automatically change the one you have in the database.
Okay, is it good?
Yeah, it did. It worked now.
Okay, great.
So I even changed it with a different name.
Yep,
So
yep,
the update will change the name you have in
yep.
existing database.
Whatever patient ID you supply, it will go in your update query and change it. Yep, that's the whole purpose. Yep. Okay. So let's come back here. So I think that's all I wanted to cover for the procedure and so forth. And as far as the last topic goes, so you do have something for homework. So try to work through that basically at home and so forth. So I think these are all the topics. So what I like you guys to do is, as part of the homework, so work on that procedure, and maybe anything that you did not get, maybe work on the age statement, if statement, right? And try to play around with that and so forth. And what we can do is, I know you guys have some query thing as well. So we can regroup on Thursday. Okay. So we can work through on Thursday, maybe 4:30 to 6, kind of like that, and wrap up the work through those lab and see if you have any question. If you don't have any question, then we'll wrap up maybe earlier. But otherwise, we'll plan next Thursday, 4:30 to 6.
Okay, so next Thursday will be the last section, right?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, so we are
So
not,
plan to work through this thing at home.
okay.
Any exercise that you did not get to do in the class here, and the one homework one, as I said, there is all the way at the end here, right? Homework for this procedure. Try to create the procedure, see if you are able to do it. If not, I'll show you on Thursday. This one. Okay. And try to finish up those queries as well, because queries are very important. So at least spend some time at home, work through the queries, and then we can talk about it on Thursday as well.
So we are not meeting tomorrow, right?
No, tomorrow. No, I think we'll work through Thursday, and so that you have some time to work through things.
Right, that's sure.
All right.
That's sure.
Okay, sounds good. Then I'll see you guys Thursday, 4:30. Okay,
Right,
but plan to work through at home. Okay. Any question that you have, we can discuss. Okay, on Thursday.
thanks.
All right. See you guys. Bye bye.